Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you might be on this beautiful blue planet of ours. Welcome to the happy hour. I'm your host, Dr. Elia. And as always, my hope and my promise to you is to bring you guests that will inspire and empower you to live your best lives. Today, our guest is James Colquhoun, a dear friend, an amazing entrepreneur, visionary, entrepreneur, filmmaker, and co-founder of Food Matters, which really was a trailblazing entity focusing on nutrition and food. And he also co-founded FMTV and some of his documentaries, including Food Matters, Transcendence, which is a must-see, and Hungry for Change. And eventually FMTV merged in 2019 with Gaia. Of course, everybody knows what Gaia is all about, and we'll learn even more as we interview James. And the remarkable thing happened about a year ago. James became the CEO of Gaia and a board member. And I want to add a personal note here. I've worked and I've met and I've been with a lot of executives, business owners, successful entrepreneurs, and CEOs. James has what I call the trifecta: curiosity, which leads to his vision, a keen intellect. But the most important thing, and the thing that I love about you, James, is your heart. You're so heart-centered. You're humble. You're a world citizen. You bless humanity in more ways than you actually know. And it's great having you on my show. Thank you for coming.
Elia, I don't think I've had a more beautiful, touching introduction than that. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Very, very humbled by that.
You're welcome. And as you can tell, his magnetism and his charm, just like it's like a tidal wave. He could be reading the alphabet and people just melt just listening to you, James. So,
No.
and when I say he's a world citizen, every time I talk to him, I'm like, it's not what country you're in, what continent are you in? I mean, because he's the most exotic locales. And then he comes back here to Colorado, where Gaia is based, and at the corporate headquarters. James, what's the latest and greatest in your life right now?
Well, as you mentioned, my latest focus is with Gaia, and I'm incredibly inspired by this mission, and it feels like an extension of something that started, almost 2 decades ago. And I had this really strong desire to want to help my father, and he was suffering as humans do. Humans suffer. They suffer with, afflictions of the mind, afflictions of the body, afflictions of the spirit, and sometimes all three at once, and we call
Of
this
course.
a midlife crisis or a health crisis. And he went to the medical profession and was seeking help and was put on a number of different medications. And I was at the same time studying more into nutrition and natural therapies and having somewhat of an awakening myself, and really had this rich desire to want to help him. And yet he's like, well, James, you're my son. You're not a medical doctor.
Yeah,
You're
what do
not
you know? What
a
do you
spirit.
know?
Exactly. So then came the idea to make a documentary, which you mentioned, Food Matters. And that was really what created change for him. And it made me sort of awaken as a first-hand witness to somebody's evolution, that media has this incredible power to transform people's beliefs. And since we invented the Gutenberg press and were able to sort of disseminate media in a mainstream fashion, or print media, this is like 1452,
Right.
it's been used as a force for good, and it's been used as a force of sort of somewhat manipulation and control. And mainstream media proliferates this death, pain, fire, destruction, distraction, separation model. And this is not really the core essence of the human spirit. And so to me, since that time, I've always involved myself in some form of media to help uplift people and awaken their true potential. And this is currently what I'm doing. And it's another evolution of this story.
Thank you for that. I mean, and it usually comes out of some kind of crisis. We find our purpose in life. Something happens that's not working, either to us personally or someone that we love. It's like your father. Tell me why food matters. Why does food matters? Like, why did you choose that title, and why does food matter?
Well, it was actually chosen because of one of the interviews that I completed at the time, and it was a gentleman called David Wolf, and he's a nature-based philosopher, very much into the natural foods movement, and was very early on in the message. And this was in around 2007. We completed the interview, and he mentioned this in a sentence. He's like, there's all these things going on in the world, but we forget that food matters. Food really does matter. There's something very tactile about diet and very mechanical. To change your thoughts is a process that the Eastern traditions have taught many different practices on how to do that. There's mantra, there's meditation, there's all these things. And yet, to change your diet, it's mechanical. You either choose to put this in or you choose to put this in. And so for a lot of people, the entryway to in essence, a total life transformation sometimes starts with a mechanical process. And to say, okay, in the morning, instead of having cereal and processed milk and sugars and, white bread that's, made with, wheat that's potentially been sprayed with glyphosate, and then you put margarine on it, which is basically spreadable plastic, and then you put rocket fuel on it, which is jam, and then you have all of that with a mycotoxin loaded, coffee,
But
then
they
this,
taste good.
yeah, I mean, well, it does.
That's the thing. They taste
But
good.
then if you switch that to a higher quality alternative, you start to change your body on a biochemical level, and that provides a more easy gateway to start to change the mind, to move the body. But if you don't get the diet right, it's very hard to want to move the body or exercise. It's very hard to still the mind and start to sort of, in a way, reprogram the subconscious to see the world in a new way, which is really a matter of our perception.
And James actually walks the talk. He's one of the healthiest people I know. His chronological age is like 120, but he looks like he's 40. So he's living proof.
Not true. Not true.
Um, Talk to me about Transcendence because that's your latest documentary. And what a beautiful word, number one. Why did you choose that, and what is that all about?
This film was sort of a mirror for my journey. So after food comes other parts of transformation. So after my father changed his diet, he started to meditate more, he started to exercise more, he started to become much more aware of the sort of other components of transformation. And the interviews that I did for this documentary included people like Novak Djokovic, who'd been through a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
struggles growing up. Also, Wim Hof, this incredible man that, experiences transformation through connection with cold exposure and breath work. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden. Greg's actually not in there, to be honest. So, and
Well, that's pretty
this
incredible people you have on the on your film. Wow.
Yeah, no, very grateful for that. It's a 5-part series. That was season one, and then there's another 5 parts for season two. And this was much more about the mind. So we become a prisoner or we become liberated by the perpetual thoughts and the beliefs that we um, that are sort of built into our psyche in a way that we can change. And so there's ways to change them, and you can do it through, mantra repetition or affirmations or meditation practices or sort of some of these other more unique practices that are different than just diet change alone. And so we speak about diet in the documentary, we speak about healing, but we mostly speak about the power of the mind. And one of my favorite episodes is episode 3 of season 1, and it's called Beyond Belief. And it's very much about this concept. And I'm really was so excited to produce this series, and a lot of people have really enjoyed it, and it's got a lot of personal stories in there too, which I love. This is how we touch people's hearts.
No, you and I are both, I feel like, mental health advocates. We see a world that's struggling in a lot of ways, both physically and spiritually, certainly mentally and emotionally in this post-pandemic world. Tell me what you're doing with Gaia and how are you moving the needle to help people learn how to heal themselves in a lot of ways?
I think when I think about this question, what comes to mind is this idea that our reality as we perceive it, each of us individually, yourself, myself, and everybody listening to this, is very much a matter of our perception and also consensus. So, Ilya, you and I believe that money has value. And so therefore it has value in a way. And we create this, contextual global belief, right? but it's an inanimate piece of paper, right? Then you and I now believe, oh, Bitcoin has value. Well, why? Because we unanimously believe in that. And there's
That's very
many,
interesting you say that. Yeah.
yeah, there's many things in life that we've now come to believe as true, and so it informs our consensus reality. And so we all sort of believe these ideas. We believe in nation states. There's the United States of America. There's Canada. There's Australia. But then there's Indigenous people. They're like, I don't believe in that. I was here for years. So we build up these beliefs that are global beliefs. These are things that we all believe together. But if you're an astronaut and you go into outer space, they have this idea called the overview effect, and they look down on Earth and they're like, "There's no nation states, there's no separate
That's
people.
Earth. That's
We're just
Gaia.
Earth, and we're
That's
Gaia. It's
Gaia.
Mother Earth, and we're one people." So to me, Gaia's sort of primary mission is to awaken people to a true sense of reality, a reality that exists beyond the filters of the beliefs of the mind and the common, and awaken us to our real potential. And the ancient wisdom traditions spoke of this, ad infinitum. You look at the Vedic scriptures, you look at the Eastern Taoist traditions, and you start to see this pattern that existed even before modern religion, right? Which original religion borrowed a lot of these ideas. That's like, we are an almighty people, cut from the same cloth as this divine creator, which is common amongst it. And we have this infinite potential to heal, to experience joy, connection, oneness, unity. However, if the seeds of doubt, anger, fear, frustration, separation take hold in the mind, then as we open our eyes, we experience that reality. And there's this idea that if you can shift your emotions, even,
Hmm.
you can start to shift your reality. And so this is a practice that I think people really connect with because it's older than time, and it's embedded with all the wisdom traditions of the earth. And as modern people, there's something more to this world, and I want to experience higher states of being. And there are practices that people can do, and there's an awareness and awakening that can happen. And then as we do this collectively, can we co-create a new reality? And I believe it's possible. And it's a matter of programming the species. And if you look at it over the past 50 to 100 years, what have we done with our media? We've programmed people into separation, racism, segregation, hatred, war, etc. And can we program individually ourselves and collectively the human species into a new story, into a new reality of one we all believe in? You go to a little village in Greece, Ilya, what is it? Connection, love,
That's it.
unity, happiness, oneness, support. This is a high vibrational state, a high vibrational micro community. Can we create that at the macro level? That's the question we're seeking to ask, and it's something that we're committed to globally.
And the funny thing is, I totally, I mean, you're speaking to my heart. You're speaking, my language as well. I think that's one of the things that, we really enjoy one another because
Mm.
I think we're both very focused in our mission, even though we might have different ways of getting there, is really to make this world lighter,
Mm.
happier, more connected. I've always believed that there's a lot more things that unite us than divides us.
Mm.
That's why I don't buy into all the media BS, and I'm calling it out.
Yeah.
Which because when you divide, that's an attempt to control. When we're united, nobody can control us, right? And we are in control of our own destiny. But sometimes I think people have forgotten that.
Mm.
And they exist. They're just surviving, but they're not really thriving. And I can't thrive if my brother or sister in any part of the world is not thriving. Because I believe we're
Yeah.
all brothers and sisters. I really believe that we're all connected. And Gaia, of course, is an ancient Greek word which means Mother Earth,
That's
like
right.
right? Gaia. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
Greek, so that's yeah. Um, so it resonates. Um, Tell me about it a little bit. Your leadership style is rather unique. You believe in your people. I know your folks just adore you and they love you just like I do. You seem to me, at least from the outside, like a very sort of a hands-off leader. Is that accurate, or is that? I mean, I know you delegate, obviously. But I feel like there's a lot of high trust with your folks, going both ways.
Yeah, look, first of all, I think it was Sun Tzu said, trust them and they will become trustworthy.
Wow. Say that
That's,
again. Trust them first, right?
and then they will become trustworthy.
Wow. Okay.
And I think what I've learned, I guess, in a journey as an entrepreneur, but specifically an entrepreneur that's impact oriented, all of the businesses I've started, all of the movements I've started or been a part of, have had an essence of creating an impact in the world that is something that I believe is important for me. And my leadership style is one of I'm very much an enthusiasm vision based leader, and I'm like, if I can continue to paint a clear vision of where we're going, people can fill in the gaps. and
Hmm.
and so I'm less required to do that. Now I would say that there are certain things that I get very obsessed about, Ilya.
Oh
And
yeah, I didn't
and
know
I
that.
can
Okay,
go
please
I
do
can I can
tell.
go deep on
Yes, do
I
tell.
can go deep
I
on
didn't know that side of you. So okay.
Yeah. But ultimately, I think having great people that I can paint a clear vision of the future to is in essence my direct reports, and then I can be like, hey, you fill in the gaps, you know. And then also I feel like one of the things I've learned, and for me, being an entrepreneur and in business, it is one of the most powerful sadhanas or one of the most powerful practices because you're confronting every day, you know, people issues, financial issues. And previous to this career, I was in a completely different field. And it was very much about how calm can you be when things are difficult. And I think that's
Let's talk
also,
about that. I really
yeah.
like that, and I think that would be a great benefit to our audience. How do you do that?
Well, you know, I used to work in shipping and commercial trade. This is my very earliest career, and in shipping, often things go well, and when they don't, they go very bad. And
Catastrophic.
yeah,
Sometimes,
and
yeah.
it's the role of the captain to be calm, to be collected, and to lead his people through a challenging time, right? And if he gets ruffled or if he gets stressed out, then it immediately impacts the entire crew, and it can change the direction of a particular situation. So I feel in business, you know, every day something's going to go wrong. There's going to be a challenge. There's going to be something, and it's a practice I feel of how calm can you be as this is happening.
Mm.
And if you look to the greatest spiritual teachers of our time, you know, even whether it's in the Siddha Yoga lineage or the Dalai Lama or Deepak Chopra, these are people that when big things happen, they're very calm. You know, they're like, okay, so let's be calm about, and approach it. I think there's a huge maturity to that,
Hmm.
and so that's some of the things that I take into business. And I would also say I've more recently developed a 5 point culture plan here, which is love, compassion, empathy, high functioning, and high performance. So the first three are very clear:
And
love,
it's interesting
compassion, and
that love is
empathy.
one. Like
Well, love is
that's
the
not
highest frequency. Love
I
is the
know
highest.
that that's not a joke or a mistake. Like I think that's very purposeful and mindful that you
Hmm.
put love at the top of the hierarchy there.
Well, it's one of the highest vibrational states that we can experience. And if we're an organization that is committed to consciousness expansion and consciousness is in part energy, then this needs to be number one. Love. Compassion is understanding, of course, and empathy is like being able to share a feeling with somebody. But then the last two I think are very important. High functioning is number four, and then high
What do you
performance.
mean by that, though?
Yeah.
Explain what you mean by high functioning. The other ones are
So
easy to
yeah,
understand. Yeah,
high performance, easy,
yeah,
love, compassion, empathy,
yeah.
easy. High functioning is a little more nuanced. And to me, high functioning has to do specifically with emotional intelligence. How willing is somebody able to give and receive critical feedback?
Okay.
How willing is somebody able to sit with a trigger or a difficult situation
And not react.
and approach it in a calm way and not react?
Yeah.
and 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 to me, if someone has not yet developed the capacity to have a high level of emotional intelligence, then the culture will no longer be able to support that collection. Or can I train them up to a higher state of emotional intelligence? And if not, then it might not be the right fit for the organization. And so, because if I'm on a ship and someone's like, I'm not doing that job, that's not for me, or you told me to help out, well, I'm not doing that, and I have a big reaction, I'm like, no, this cannot be the case. You know, we
Hmm.
need to be a team, we need to be together, we're on the same team. And so that's really important to me as a leader. And I would say additionally, there was one really interesting study that they did, and I might be paraphrasing this and I might not get it correct, but
Sure.
they did a study, a meta-analysis of the most winning NBA teams of all time.
Oh
And
man, I'm a huge NBA fan. Tell me, I
yeah,
want to hear this.
so the only common thing amongst the most winning NBA teams of all time was not the most MVPs or the best players or anything. Nothing to do with that. The only common thing they found was that the most winning teams did the most amount of high fives and hugs. And to me, it was something really unique about that because it's a culture of celebration. And if you have high fives and hugs, you're celebrating every day something. We're here, we're doing this. We got over one struggle. If there's no culture of celebration, I feel that the entity starts to lose its joie de vivre, its raison d'être, its reason for being, its joy for being alive. And then if that goes away, then what's to keep people wanting to come back? So to me, celebration is really key, and also facing challenges in an untriggered way from a sense of emotional calm and peace. And then obviously business can be also brutal. And it's also just being peaceful with that and being like loving and compassion, having love and compassion for all those different situations that arise.
My friend, our time is up. You and I can talk for hours. I'm going to say one thing. Do you know who brought hiking to the NBA? A guy
Who's
by the name
that?
of Irvin Magic Johnson.
There we
He
go.
was the first one that brought it. And of course, Magic was Magic. I mean, he was
Yeah.
like this charismatic, amazingly talented human being who on his very first game, because I remember that I'm a huge Lakers fan, on his very first game, the NBA has 82 games for the regular season, never mind the playoffs. So 100, and
Yeah.
Magic won 5 NBA championships and multiple MVPs. The first game, he passes to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who does the famous skyhook, and the team wins. And he runs to Kareem. Kareem is 7'1" and very stoic. I mean, he's
Yeah.
like very serious, very stoic, and he jumps on him and wraps his arms around him and his legs around Kareem. And Kareem is like, "What the hell are you doing? We have 81 more games to play." But Magic brought exactly what you just talked about: the passion, the love of the game, the love
Yeah.
of life.
Yeah.
Of course, that led to, one of the greatest runs in NBA history or in sports history, where, they
Hmm.
won to 10 NBA championships in 12 years and won 5 of them. Anyway, I'm so glad you brought up that story. James, thank you so much for everything that you do, and
Thank
such
you.
a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Elia.
You're welcome. What did I tell you? Listening to James, yeah, I mean, just what an incredible human being. What a leader, right? And someone who's so self-aware. I listened to him talk about, and if you have a business, a company that you're running, if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, if you just, or a startup company, or if you're just running the business of your own personal life, the things that he talked about, love, compassion, and empathy, the trifecta, the big three, before you get to your teams, right? High functioning and high performing teams. Uh, the other thing I really liked about what he said is have a clear vision. And that I think that applies to us individually. It can also apply into our business. Without vision, the people perish. That's what the good book says, which was written thousands of years ago. So, do we have a clear vision of our life? Where are we going, and why are we? Why would we want that? And why is that important not just to us, but the people that we love, the people around us, or the people that we lead as leaders? So, I guess that's something for us to meditate on and to think about. Is your vision clear? And if it isn't, what are you willing to do about it? And sometimes it helps to have other people, executive coaches, to have, but sometimes I think we can find that within ourselves by getting quiet. So I know my vision for this show is very clear, like I said, which is to bring value to you, the audience. So I want to thank you for your generosity, for your loyalty, for your enthusiasm. Just getting such great feedback about the show, and I'm truly touched and humbled. And can't wait to see you next week. Thanks.